I remember standing beside my father at the edge of the council balcony, my hands folded the way servants folded theirs, my feet barely reaching the stone rail. Below us, voices rose and collided, advisors arguing, messengers demanding urgency, but none of it reached him. King Draven watched the horizon as if it were speaking a language only he understood. "Look," he said quietly. I followed his gaze, expecting armies, banners, or threats. There was only sky. Endless. Empty. He did not explain. He never explained. I waited. My impatience faded into something steadier, something sharper. Behind us, the council continued without him, yet nothing moved forward. That was my first lesson. Kings do not rush toward noise. They wait until noise grows tired. I did not want his crown then. I wanted his stillness. My father never raised his voice in the hall. He did not need to. When he entered, conversations softened on their own. When he spoke, chairs stopped shifting. "This will wait," he said once. And it did. Later, as we walked the long corridor, I asked, "Why did they stop arguing?" He did not slow his steps. Because they felt the decision before they heard it. He placed a hand on my shoulder. It was heavy, grounding. "Power," he said, "announces itself only when it is weak." I nodded without understanding fully, but the words stayed. They settled inside me like stone, silent, unmovable. When the halls grew tense, Queen Seren took me to the gardens. She poured tea slowly, even when messengers waited nearby, shifting from foot to foot. "They seem urgent," I said. She smiled faintly. "Urgency belongs to fear." The steam curled upward as if time itself had slowed. My mother never corrected my father in public, yet he always listened to her in private. "Patience," she told me, "outlives force." From her, I learned balance. Where my father carried weight, she carried calm. Together, they taught me that true strength does not hurry to prove itself. My brother Finn laughed easily. Guards clapped his back. Children shouted his name. "You think too much," he told me once, smiling. "Someone has to," I replied. He waved to cheers while I leaned against stone, listening to what the walls remembered. Finn chased moments. I collected pauses. He belonged to the people. I belonged to the quiet. Even then, I understood. Love given loudly fades. Trust earned quietly remains. Advisor Liss spoke as though each word cost him breath. "Empires do not fall when they burn," he said during a late council meeting. "They fall when no one notices the cracks." My father listened. My mother watched me. "Remember that," Liss added. I did. His warnings were never dramatic. They arrived like footsteps in an empty hall, easy to ignore, impossible to forget. Long before war found us, I learned that endings begin in silence. Kiran stood behind us always, pouring tea, carrying messages, cleaning what anger broke. "Thank you," I told him once. He paused, surprised, then nodded. He said nothing. He endured everything. In him, I saw loyalty without command, humanity without title. He taught me that service can weigh more than authority, and endurance speaks louder than rank. Years later, as king, and later as nothing at all, I returned to that balcony in memory. The wind felt the same. The silence heavier. Only then did I understand what my father, my mother, Liss, and even Kiran had shown me. History does not announce itself. It arrives softly. It waits. And only later does it demand payment. That was when I accepted my role. Not to shape power, but to recognize it before it speaks. The chamber did not erupt when her name was spoken. It tightened. The air felt heavier, as if sound itself had learned caution. "The Queen," a messenger said, voice low. Not a title. Not an honor. A warning. I watched my father's fingers pause on the armrest of his chair. King Draven did not look at the messenger. He looked past him, as though the name had opened a door only he could see. "Repeat," he said. "The alien queen approaches the outer systems." No panic followed. No shouting. Only distance settling between breaths. I felt it then, the sense that something vast had turned its attention toward us. Storms do not announce themselves. They gather. They wait. And somewhere beyond sight, she was waiting. The human delegation stood where fear should have been visible. It wasn't. They did not whisper. They did not fidget. One leaned against the table as if waiting for weather to pass. Advisor Liss shifted beside me. They should be alarmed. They are not, I replied. A human woman met my gaze briefly, then looked back to the display. Calm. Focused. King Draven spoke. You understand the danger. We do, one of them answered. No drama. No defiance. Just certainty. The silence stretched. I realized then that panic was expected of them, and they had chosen not to offer it. That choice unsettled the room more than shouting ever could. We will evacuate the perimeter stations, a human delegate said. Finn leaned forward. Those stations hold strategic value. They hold people, the human replied. Numbers appeared. Routes. Timings. Losses listed without apology. We abandon 3 outposts, another said. We save the rest. King Draven's jaw tightened. You accept that loss willingly? Yes. No speeches. No appeals. Just decisions laid bare. I watched Servant Kieran pour tea with the same steady hands as the humans marked ships for abandonment. No prayers were offered. No blessings spoken. They did not ask fate for mercy. They planned around it. King Draven stood. The chamber followed him into silence. To abandon territory, he said slowly, invites weakness. One human answered, to cling to it invites extinction. The words landed without insult. I saw it then, the fracture forming in my father's certainty. Honor pulled one way. Survival pulled another. Advisor Liss spoke carefully. We must consider. No, my father said. Then softer, we must decide. He looked at me. For the first time, he did not shield his doubt. That moment taught me something vital. Authority does not erase fear. It carries it alone. Queen Seren said nothing. She observed the humans. The data. My father's hesitation. Finn glanced at her. Mother. She did not answer. Later, as the council fractured into debate, she leaned toward me. This is not the moment to guide him. Why? I whispered. Because he must choose knowing the cost. Her silence was not absence. It was restraint. From her stillness, I learned that guidance sometimes means allowing another to carry the weight unaided. Finn finally stood. Why accept loss before the battle begins? The room froze. A human looked at him, considering. Because the battle began before you noticed. Finn scoffed. You surrender ground without a fight. We surrender ground, the human replied. Not survival. My brother shook his head. That is fear dressed as logic. No, came the calm reply. It is logic trained by fear. I saw Finn's certainty crack, not break, but bend. Questions like his do not vanish. They wait. As orders were finalized, one human muttered, Guess I owe you that drink now. Another replied, Only if we're still alive. A small smile passed between them. No bitterness. No speeches. Just acceptance wrapped in dry humor. Kieran refilled cups. One human thanked him without looking up. In that exchange, brief, ordinary, I saw something unshakable. They did not romanticize sacrifice. They endured it. The chamber emptied slowly. King Draven remained seated, staring at projections that no longer moved. I stood beside him, the weight of the day settling into memory. Humanity did not seek glory. They sought continuation. That realization changed something inside me. Not admiration. Not fear. Understanding. And once learned, it could never be unlearned. The joint operations began without ceremony. No speeches. No banners. Just shared maps and a silence thick enough to lean on. Humans stood among our commanders as if they had always been there, their presence unsettling not because they were foreign, but because they were calm. We move together, one of them said. King Draven nodded once. Then we move. I watched how they stood close to danger without dramatizing it. No bravado. No ritual. Crisis, to them, was not an event, it was a condition. Advisor Liss leaned toward me. They do not posture. No, I replied. They prepare. That difference mattered more than any alliance document. Evacuation orders came early. Too early, some argued. Delay the advance, a commander protested. Yes, a human replied. Clear the civilians. Finn's voice cut sharp. You lose momentum. A human looked at him. We keep lives. I watched transport after transport lift, carrying children while soldiers waited, restless. The front line stood still, not from fear, but from decision. King Draven clenched his jaw. This costs us advantage. It saves them, came the answer. For the first time, I saw my father hesitate not because of uncertainty, but because the logic was undeniable. Routes collapsed under strain. Convoys rerouted until they failed entirely. We cannot hold this pace, Advisor Liss warned. A human adjusted the map. Then we break the line here. That starves the flank, Finn said. It feeds the refugees, the human answered. I watched Kieran carry crates meant for soldiers toward evacuation bays instead. No one ordered him. He simply understood. Resources vanished. Lives continued. That trade echoed inside me, quiet, irreversible. Kieran moved with the humans now. Not behind them. Beside them. Why do you follow? Finn asked him. Kieran paused. They do not waste suffering. That was all he said. I had seen loyalty before. This was alignment. A shared endurance that did not need permission. In their silence, Kieran found belonging. Liss had questioned every human decision at first. Now he watched. They calculate loss precisely, he murmured. Yes, I said. And accept it fully. He nodded slowly. That is rare. When Liss fell silent, I understood something important had shifted. Skepticism had given way to respect, not because humans demanded it, but because they earned it repeatedly. This is madness, Finn snapped as another sector was abandoned. They throw away ground like it means nothing. I answered carefully. They throw it away because it means something else. He shook his head. You're excusing fear. No, I said. I'm recognizing priorities. Finn looked at the map, fists clenched. One day this costs us everything. Or saves what remains, I replied. Neither of us convinced the other. But the pattern was forming, and I was the only one willing to follow it to its end. Queen Seren found me alone by the observation deck. You're troubled, she said. They choose burden every time, I replied. She nodded. Then watch what they protect. I did. Not territory. Not pride. Not reputation. People. In that focus, I saw a truth sharper than doctrine. Endurance is a form of belief. Operations slowed. Pauses stretched. Some called it indecision. I saw something else. Every delay carried intent. Every pause weighed lives against lives. No speeches justified it. No banners honored it. They chose, and moved on. That was when I understood. Hesitation fears consequence. Choice accepts it. And humanity had already accepted more than most civilizations ever would. The wind changed first. It cut across the field with intention, pressing against banners and armor as if testing our resolve. I felt it crawl beneath my cloak, cold and deliberate. She's here, Advisor Liss said quietly. No signal flared. No announcement echoed. Yet every commander stiffened at once. Then her command arrived, not as sound, but as pressure. Troops shifted without being told. Defensive lines bent as if guided by an unseen hand. King Draven spoke low. She commands without speaking. Yes, I replied. And we obey without realizing. That was her power. Not domination, but inevitability. The sky fractured. Fire did not rain randomly. It fell in sequences, measured, patient. Our formations reacted too slowly, trained for chaos, not calculation. Adjust! Finn shouted. A human commander shook his head. Too late. She's already moved past this phase. Explosions carved the field into pieces. Lines dissolved. Rules broke. I understood then, this was not a battle of strength, but of comprehension. And we were behind. "Retreat from the ridge," a human voice ordered. Finn spun. "That's madness. We hold that position." "We lose it," the human replied calmly, "to save the rear." Ships pulled back. Guns fell silent. The high ground, abandoned. King Draven stared at the display. "You give up advantage willingly?" "We give it up knowingly," came the answer. The Queen's fire struck empty ground moments later. Loss chosen in advance. Survival secured by surrender. "Pull our forces back," a general urged. "This is not our war." King Draven's silence stretched. Then he said, "We stand." Every head turned. "With them," he added. Advisor Liss inhaled sharply. "That binds us permanently." "So be it," my father replied. In that moment, he traded pride for consequence. Alliance for uncertainty. I saw the cost settle on his shoulders, and he did not shrug it off. Finn broke formation. "I can cut through," he shouted, already moving. "Finn, wait." I called. He didn't. Fire shifted. The Queen noticed. An explosion threw him clear. He hit the ground hard, breath gone, armor scorched. I ran to him. "You acted alone." He coughed. Bitter. "Someone had to." "Yes," I said quietly. "But not like that." The battle did not punish courage. It punished impatience. The line should have broken. Instead, humans stepped forward. No banners. No shouts. Just bodies forming a barrier where retreat demanded sacrifice. "Fall back," King Draven ordered. A human captain shook his head. "Not yet." They held. One by one, they fell, but not before buying seconds. Then minutes. No songs would be written. No names carved. They knew that. And stayed anyway. The field burned. Sound faded into a hollow ringing. I stood frozen, watching loss accumulate without ceremony. Something inside me cracked, not loudly, but completely. This was not glory. This was payment. And we were paying in lives. The fire stopped. The Queen withdrew, not defeated, but satisfied. We stood among ruins and breathless survivors. No cheers rose. No victory claimed. King Draven removed his crown. Finn looked away. I realized then, we survived, but we were altered. Victory had nothing to do with joy. Only with endurance. The battlefield fell quiet in a way that felt temporary, as if silence itself was waiting for permission to leave. Smoke drifted low, hiding the scars rather than erasing them. That was when I felt her attention again. The alien queen did not approach. She did not speak. Yet I knew she was watching. Her ships hovered at a distance that suggested neither retreat nor threat. A line drawn in the air. Respect, perhaps, but edged with caution. "She's not done with us," Advisor Liss murmured. "No," I replied. "She's finished for now." King Draven stood beside me, posture rigid. "She measures outcomes," he said. "Not victories." I felt it too. Her silence was not approval. It was assessment. We had survived her notice. That alone changed everything. The chamber was repaired quickly. Too quickly. Fresh stone covered cracks that still lived beneath the surface. Documents passed between hands. Seals pressed. Words agreed upon. Alliance. Cooperation. Mutual defense. A human representative said quietly, "This does not make us friends." King Draven nodded. "It makes us necessary." No one smiled. Advisor Liss leaned close to me. "Doctrine has shifted." "Yes," I said. Without permission. What had been unthinkable days before was now unavoidable. We aligned not because trust had grown, but because survival demanded structure. Paper does not heal wounds. It only prevents them from reopening too soon. When the council adjourned, my father remained seated. The crown rested on the table before him, untouched. "You should wear it," Finn said softly. King Draven shook his head. Not yet. I watched the lines in his face deepen, not with age, but with consequence. Victory had arrived, but it had taken more than it gave. Advisor Lys spoke carefully. History will remember this as wisdom. My father exhaled. History does not bury the dead. That was when I understood. Leadership is not weakened by doubt. It is defined by it. Queen Seren found me in the outer corridor, where the light thinned and footsteps softened. You're carrying something, she said. So are you, I replied. She studied me, eyes sharp and gentle all at once. Your gaze has changed. I did not deny it. You saw the cost, she continued, and accepted it. I saw people accept it, I said. She placed a hand on my arm. That is how rulers are forged, not by command, but by witness. Her words did not comfort me. They confirmed what I already knew. I would never look at decisions the same way again. Later, as dusk settled, Advisor Lys addressed the inner council. Humanity is now essential, he said. But not embraced. Finn frowned. They saved us. They unsettled us, Lys replied. Both can be true. I spoke then. They will be called dangerous. Lys nodded. And dependable. Silence followed. That combination, he added, reshapes empires. No one argued. We had learned that fear and reliance can coexist, and often must. That night, I walked the outer grounds alone. The wind had returned to its old paths, brushing stone as if nothing had happened. But something had. Inside me, the battle lingered, not as noise, but as form. Choices replayed. Delays examined. Lives counted without numbers. I realized then that endings are illusions. Conflict leaves impressions. It teaches the body to remember before the mind is ready. I was no longer seeking victory. I was measuring consequence. In the days that followed, humanity's name changed shape. Not heroes. Not saviors. Assets. When danger loomed, they were consulted. When losses were expected, they were included. Respect arrived, but without warmth. I watched humans accept that role without protest. They did not seek praise. They prepared. That, more than anything, unsettled me. Endurance without idealism. Service without illusion. Humanity had not changed the galaxy by force. It had changed it by staying, when others would have left. And I knew then, with quiet certainty, the next storm would not ask who we admired. It would ask who we trusted to stand. The tea had gone untouched long enough for steam to vanish. I noticed only when the cup cooled against my fingers. Outside, the wind moved through the balcony arches the same way it always had, slow, deliberate, carrying no urgency at all. I had stood here before. As a boy. As a king. Now, as neither. The sky was clear, but I had learned not to trust calm. Calm was often the pause before memory spoke. Kieran approached quietly, as he always did. He set another cup beside mine. You didn't drink, he said. I was listening, I replied. To what? The wind, I said. It remembers more than we do. He nodded once and stepped back, leaving me alone with the sound of a world that had not changed, only revealed itself. I no longer wore the crown. It rested inside, heavy as ever. Finn joined me at the railing. His injuries had healed, but something in his posture had not. You should rest, he said. So should you, I replied. He looked out over the city. They still ask what you think. I am retired, I said. He smiled faintly. That never mattered. I realized then that titles leave before responsibility does. Leadership lingers, even when the symbols are gone. I don't regret it, Finn added. But I understand it now. That's the cost, I said quietly. Not pain. Understanding. Advisor Lys arrived with reports he did not open. They're requesting joint planning again, he said. Already? Finn asked. Yes, Lys replied. Because when the projections turn dark, humanity is the first name spoken. I closed my eyes briefly. Fire warms. Fire burns. They trust them? Finn asked. They rely on them, Liz corrected. Trust implies comfort. Kieran, standing near the door, spoke softly. Fire does not ask to be trusted. Liz glanced at him, then nodded. It only proves what it does. I felt the shape of the future settle, uneasy, dependent, inevitable. That night, I returned to the balcony alone. Stars burned where they always had. Trade routes pulsed with life. Empires expanded and contracted, unaware they had already shifted. The galaxy still turned. But the rules beneath it had changed. Survival was no longer about strength alone, or unity, or pride. It was about who would stand when the cost was known in advance. Humanity had answered that question without asking who would remember them. That realization did not bring comfort. It brought clarity. Queen Seren found me just before dawn. "You look lighter," she said. "I am not," I replied. "I am clearer." She smiled gently. That is what remains when crowns are set aside. I thought of my father, of Finn, of Kieran, of humanity, standing in places no one would carve their names. "I used to think kings decided history," I said. "And now?" "Now I know we witness it forming," I replied, "and choose whether to stand in its way or bear it." She placed a hand over mine. "That is enough." As the sun rose, I lifted the cup and drank what had long since gone cold. The taste did not bother me. Some things are meant to be endured.